Chaim, we want to talk about treatment now. And you can talk about cancer endlessly because there's, I don't know, 100 cancers, who knows how many. But you're working on diabetes, and diabetes has a special interest for Canada because of Banting and Best and the whole tradition in Canada. You have a collaboration with Canada on that.
That's right. I think that, I guess Canada is very lucky in that you've inherited one of the students from our lab.
Oh, I see. He's an Israeli?
He's an Israeli, Moshe Schiff.
And where is he working?
He's at McGill University. An excellent scientist who also works on DNA methylation and does a lot of interesting things far beyond the type of things that we do in our lab. So you're very lucky. We actually have a collaboration between McGill and the Hebrew University, the Institute for Medical Research in Israel, Canada, which is just getting started, in which we've taken upon ourselves to study a general phenomenon about DNA methylation, which could have very important implications for medicine as a whole. And that is the idea that perhaps the environment that we live in can affect the behavior of our cells by changing DNA methylation.
For example, how does it change it?
So the idea is that as a human being goes through life, he's exposed to all sorts of things from the environment. These could be social things, family things, psychological effects, exposed to chemicals, exposed to foods, different kinds of air.
You mean if you're watching your son make Beaufort, you get excited and all thrilled because
Right.
he's giving you the thrill. It affects your cells?
It affects our bodies.
And the methylation.
Well, so the idea is that maybe most of these effects are transient.
Right.
You know, we get so excited and then we relax. But the idea is that because DNA methylation is a stable, long-term control mechanism, that some of these effects may trigger a change in methylation. And then the effect of that will live on, in a sense.
Give me an example, because we're not talking about radiation, because radiation alters the gene. You're
Right.
talking about methylation. So what is an example?
Okay, so I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
It's currently hypothetical,
Oh, okay.
but this is something that we're going to work on with the group at McGill. So we know that children that are born from mothers who had diabetes during pregnancy have a very high percentage of cases in which they themselves develop, many years later, they develop diabetes. Okay? So something about this person being present in the womb at the time when his mother had diabetes has somehow had a long-lasting effect on this person, such that when he gets older, he develops diabetes. Nobody knows how this works. But one of the ideas is that this initial exposure caused some sort of change, a permanent change in gene regulation, like methylation can do. So we don't know if it's methylation, but
you must have some hints, otherwise you wouldn't.
I wish we did have
no,
some.
you don't. I mean, it's just a real exploration.
It's an exploration, but you know, it's the tip of the iceberg, because many people think that there are a lot of changes in methylation going on, which could have long-lasting effects. People ask questions, for instance, and this is also groups in Canada that work on this. People ask questions, you know, how can you start off with identical twins, and one of them develops schizophrenia and the other doesn't? They have the exact same genes.
Right.
How does this happen? And one of the thoughts is that it could be these epigenetic changes. That one is exposed to this and the other exposed to something else, and it makes an epigenetic change in the structure, in methylation, in regulation.
So, but has it affected some areas of treatment at all, in any areas? Or not? It hasn't got to that
No,
yet.
Not at all.
That's still a real
This
long,
is futuristic medicine. Right.
But okay, getting back to the basic science of it and getting into methylation, diabetes is an unusual condition because it's related to, if you have diabetes, evidently helps you live longer in some paradoxical way. Why is the connection?
And I really don't know, I must tell you, but I can just tell you that there are many types of diseases that ultimately end up having also an advantage to the organism. I mean, basically, evolution works this way, that even though something is a little bit damaging, it could ultimately have an advantage for the organism.
So it's, you don't, and which one does and doesn't, we don't know.
No.
It works out.
Very complex.
When you're working here and you have all these different units in the Institute of Medical Research here, how much collaboration and feedback is there from one group to another? You have what, 21 groups or 18 groups? I can't remember.
So,
I mean, are you in isolated silos, or do you have lots of interchanges?
So of course, the structure is made up of individual scientists. And each scientist has his own agenda, his own interests, his own way of doing things. And he builds up a group which is composed usually of doctoral students, sometimes postdoctoral students. But then he interacts with the system in a number of different ways. Right? One of the ways is he initiates individual collaborations with other people. So as you were well aware, today doing good science is not easy. It's hard, mainly because science today is complex. And no individual person can really study something on his own. He needs help. He needs people who work in a little different discipline or have different skills. And so this happens all the time here at the medical school, here at the Institute for Medical Research. There are many, many individual groups that collaborate one with another. They collaborate with other people here in Israel. They collaborate with people all over the world, as we're trying to do now with Canada. Right? And so that's a second level of interaction. And then there's a general level of interaction, and that is that here at the Institute for Medical Research, we have lots of seminars, lots of lectures. We have a forum for students to get together to discuss their work. We have forums for presenting work to the students. And all this together generates really an organism, a type of biological research organism, which is essential for doing good research. And I think here at the medical school we have a really healthy organism.
No,
it works well.
Because that's precisely, it needs to be really creative and where everybody's invigorated by one another. And that's been my impression in the interviews, actually. I'm going to end with one thing. You have 6 kids. One is a filmmaker, made Beaufort. What are the other 5? And you have 6 sons.
I have 6 children. 4 of them are sons.
Because I read there were 6 sons. Because I have 4 sons and 2 daughters.
Oh,
so,
also.
Yeah,
wow.
but you have 12 grandchildren. I only have 9. So you're ahead of me.
The race isn't over yet.
Yeah, that's right. I have young guys. The competitive factor, the genes. It's not me, it's the genes.
But I must tell you that my daughter's going to give birth in about a week.
Oh, I see.
So don't count on beating me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There are many families where people where the children go into the same field that their parents go into. And that's partially true in our family also, but
how many are researchers?
none of them are researchers.
I see. Well, with that, we have to end, because I at least have 2 professors.
Oh, wow.
So not bad.
So all of my kids take after my wife.
I see. You can say that's good or bad.
It's wonderful.
Anyway, thank you very much, Chaim. I really appreciate it.